Hello, it's Sievers here from the Savvy team. Welcome to another Wellness Whiteboard Wednesday. In this region of the world, we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month right now. And while that's a great grassroots movement really to bring awareness to the issues surrounding breast cancer, we believe here in the Savvy team that what you focus on expands. And so let's not focus on cancer. Let's make this collectively together Breast Health Awareness Month, shall we? And so ladies, I want to have a conversation with you really about the underlying issues, addressing the underlying issues that can lead to hormonal imbalance and that can lead to issues such as breast cancer, so that we can really look at the concept of prevention rather than early detection. So all that and more in this particular session of Wellness Whiteboard Wednesday. So if you're new to what we do in the Savvy team, we're all about helping you reach a high level of health and lifestyle. So when you connect in with our community, you'll have access to all of the step-by-step action plans, innovative solutions, and all the guidance and support that you need to reach your wellness goals. And so look, if you've been struggling with implementing these ideas, it's all very well to watch videos, and we commend you for educating yourself and taking self-responsibility, but getting all the information is part of the first part of the issue. The next step is actually getting it done, implementing it. And that's what our community is about. So if you've been struggling with actually making the changes in your life and doing the things that get the results in your health, then that's where we can help. So certainly reach out to us. Let's have a chat. So yeah, breast health awareness and hormonal imbalance. And if you've been on any of our sessions in the past, then you'll know that many of these, or you'll start to recognize that many of these things are actually the drivers or the root causes of all sorts of health issues. So they're very similar things, but sometimes there's a little bit of a different mix depending on the issue, because hormonal issues sort of have slightly different drivers to other issues and everything. But nevertheless, if we come right back to it, there are some very similar root causes. And the great thing about that is that we can tackle all sorts of things in the body, all sorts of random issues, by focusing on the underlying issues that impact health in the body. So sort of zooming out, rather than being like a macro lens on a camera where you zoom right in and look at the issue, we actually zoom out and look at the bigger picture. So this is really what holistic wellness and natural medicine and functional medicine and integrative medicine is really all about. And while I'm not a doctor, not a practitioner, I'm a really passionate educator in the area of health and wellness. And I really want to give you ideas and our community is about giving you ideas that you can then implement that can make a dramatic, really help you make dramatic changes in your life so that your future is different. Anyway, breast health awareness. What can we do related to these underlying issues? Well, one of the things that I wanted to focus on here is, to begin with, is this testing and prevention. See, much of the breast cancer prevention focus is really focused on testing and early detection. So there's very little true emphasis on prevention. It's actually about early detection. So let's just keep testing you and testing you and testing you until we find some signs of breast cancer, and then we treat it. So that's really not prevention, is it? It's sort of like saying, anyway, probably won't go there. So, and like many of the testing, let's just think about mammograms, for example. And look, I don't want to go into that particular topic in this particular session. We're looking to include a topic on breast health awareness in our upcoming Healthy, Wealthy, Wise show. So maybe look out for that, where we can go into a little bit more depth. But testing, you just think about it. So one of the causes of cancer throughout the body is exposure to chemicals and things like electromagnetic frequencies and radiation. So let's just have a look at this testing procedure. So go and have a regular mammogram, where what we do is we irradiate the breast tissue, and we keep doing that until we find something. And then when we find something, we treat it. Do you see it's an interesting thought, isn't it? So all the while, are you doing anything to actually address some of the underlying causes that can lead to that? that can lead to the culmination or the manifestation of breast cancer. So are we really truly focusing on prevention when we're just continuing with testing? So as an alternative to mammograms, for example, or regular mammograms at least, is you could maybe look at things such as thermal imaging as more of a preventative strategy, because then that's a low impact on the body as compared to regular radiation exposure, for example. So I'm not going to get into that, but I just wanted to mention that as one thing. And then again, that's still monitoring. That's not truly looking at preventing those underlying drivers. And that's what I really want to discuss with you a bit here in Breast Health Awareness Month. What are you doing? The question for you is, what are you doing to address the underlying issues that drive hormonal imbalance? Because if you address those underlying issues, not only will you reduce your risk of breast cancer, but you're also going to reduce your incidence of PMS and hormonal imbalances and breast tenderness and other inflammatory disorders and endometriosis, and even if you're more mature, the menopausal symptoms and all those sorts of things, because the same underlying drivers are at play right throughout the hormonal system. So number one thing that we're going to look at in this particular session is toxins and detox. Okay, so what are you being exposed to, and is your body capable of detoxifying it? So, there are many things linked to hormonal imbalance and breast cancer, and also then you have the impaired detoxification ability of your body. You may be genetically not able to detoxify effectively. You may have liver dysfunction. You may have underlying issues that really prevent you from properly eliminating the toxins that you're exposed to. And then that can trigger a domino effect issue in the body that could lead to breast cancer. So again, we have to turn off the toxic tap, and we need to optimize our body's ability to detoxify the things that we're being exposed to each and every day. So in the way of toxins, there are man-made toxins, and then there are even inflammatory plant compounds that can trigger issues in the body. So first of all, endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now, the World Health Organization has clearly articulated that there are many chemicals in personal care, that are in the environment, that are in the things that you use in the home, that are in plastics and like phthalates and BPA and all these sorts of things, as well as many other endocrine disruptors that are all in the things that you even put on your skin in each and every day. So they have been directly linked to breast cancer. So it's obvious we want to eliminate those if we want to prevent breast cancer and indeed have all-round hormonal health and breast health. Alcohol, certainly, I'm sure you might, you're welcome to enjoy a glass or two of alcohol every now and then, but nevertheless, the statistics say that those who consume alcohol frequently actually do just exhibit a higher risk for breast cancer. But then we have hormones. Again, how much of the hormone, like the pill, the contraceptive pill, or other hormone hormone things have you been exposed to? Because these do increase your likelihood of developing breast cancer. So then we move, and then also, the plant. There are many toxins you don't think of, many healthy foods that are actually inflammatory in the body. So many times the nightshade vegetables like tomatoes and potatoes and eggplant can trigger inflammation in the body. Grains are very inflammatory, dairy is very inflammatory, and potentially hormone disruptive as well. So many of these supposedly healthy foods can trigger reactions in the body that are less than ideal when we're looking to optimize our health for the long term. Then we have our body's ability to detoxify those toxins. So many of you, you may sort of think, well, I've done all of that, I do a really good job, but if your liver is not functioning at its peak, if you don't have the two pathways of detoxification operating properly in the liver, and then there's all the other detoxification pathways in the body too, then you have an impaired ability to detoxify these compounds. And so it's considered one of the drivers for breast cancer, for example, is impaired liver detoxification. So even if you've been exposed to these things in the past and you're doing the best as you can to turn off all of these, the exposures to these chemicals, if they're sort of in your fat cells and in your body and your liver's not able to properly dispose of these chemicals, then they can still cause an issue long term. So we need to be able to get rid of the chemicals and optimize the body's natural detoxification pathways, such as the liver. So, you know, the things that you can do in that sort of thing, all of the liver herbs, the cruciferous vegetables are really powerful too. The green superfoods as well, green superfood blends to help the liver, really, really powerful. Other things such as dandelion and St. Mary's thistle, these are all optimize the liver's ability to actually eliminate these chemicals. So that's the first step. Really do what you can to eliminate the chemicals and optimize your body's capability to eliminate chemicals. Number 2 is the digestion and gut. So poor digestion and a damaged gut lining, for example. So when we're dealing with poor digestion, then you can have poor absorption and assimilation of the food. So you might even be eating a perfect diet, but if you have impaired digestion, so your stomach acid isn't right, you have poor enzyme potential, you have these food sensitivities and all these sorts of things, then this can actually upset your absorption and assimilation of nutrients. And then that can lead to nutrient deficiencies, which then lead to disease in the body. So again, making sure that your gut's functioning really well makes a huge difference. Food sensitivities. So if you're still eating foods that you're sensitive to, maybe not allergic to, but that trigger sort of inflammation in the system and an irritation in your gut lining, then this will mess up your absorption ability of nutrients, and it can mess up your microbiome, which then helps you to convert foods and absorb further nutrients too. So you could end up deficient in B vitamins, deficient in trace minerals, all of these sorts of things, and then that will have a domino effect onto your hormonal system. And so also with the gut, in many of our bigger seminars and everything, we've shown how many people, for example, we've had clients and community members that had been going for one IVF treatment after another, off the topic of breast cancer, I know, but hormonal imbalance, and they just could not fall pregnant. And then they discovered really that they had a prolapsed transverse colon. So in other words, they had blocked colon, and it was pressing down on the sex organs and really interrupting the whole hormonal balance. So when they did more of a gut healing and detoxification program, it sparked up their whole hormonal system and they fell pregnant naturally. So isn't that amazing? When is a hormonal problem not a hormonal problem? When it's a gut problem or some other underlying issue. So but food sensitivities too, this can trigger all sorts of inflammation in the system. It can trigger irritable bowel and leaky gut and all these sorts of things. And then you're not absorbing nutrients properly. So then you end up nutrient deficient in many nutrients that are important for all-around health. And then we've got leaky gut and inflammation. And again, what this can set up in the body is somewhat of an autoimmune problem. And then that can set up a cascade of hormonal imbalance issues that lead to breast cancer. So, for example, much of the leaky gut and inflammation can actually trigger, for example, adrenal and thyroid issues. And then that triggers a cascade of problems that can lead to breast cancer. So, this is what I mean when we say, sometimes in the medical profession, they can be too focused on the breast, the ovaries, the uterus or whatever, rather than zooming out and looking at us as holistic beings. And what we need to do is look after our body as a whole, inside and out, if we want to optimize our all-round well-being. So that's an issue too, and all of those sorts of things. Then we have insulin resistance and weight issues, obesity, weight gain, these sorts of things. So excess weight, it can be a real problem because it can trigger an estrogen dominance in the body. What many people don't realize is that, and also it can be a storage place for a lot of toxins as well. So you've got to be careful when you go to lose weight that you have all of your detox pathways optimized, or that can trigger hormonal issues. So we have very specific ways of helping people who've had weight issues for a long time to optimize their detox pathways before they lose weight on our program, so that they lessen some of these hormonal issues that can go on. Because I probably should have told you the story here, that what happens is the fat stores are like inert toxic waste dumps for the body. So the body sort of says, oh, well, look, we've had this weight for a while, so there's a good strategic bet that it's going to be around for a while. These toxins that we're being exposed to, these heavy metals, these pesticides, these endocrine disrupting chemicals and all that sort of thing, let's just store all of that over there in the fat so that we don't have to worry about it now. We'll deal with that in the future. And then, unfortunately, when you lose weight, that all comes out into the bloodstream. And if your liver is already impaired, then you suffer problems. And so that's why losing weight without effectively looking at some of these underlying issues in the body is also treating the symptom and not the cause. Maybe you're holding on to weight because you have toxins exposure and detox, pathways are impaired. Anyway, the problem with excess weight for women and hormonal imbalance and breast health and all that sort of thing is it's not a body image thing. So one of the interesting things that goes on right now, there's almost a fight to stand for the limitations of, look, people shouldn't put upon me for my body image, or if I'm holding excess weight, it's perfectly fine. Yes, right now I'm having an issue around insulin resistance, having a conversation around insulin resistance and weight issues. Please don't take that as any slight against body image or whatever. We're having a health conversation here, and what many people don't seem to realize is that the fat cells are, excess fat is like another endocrine organ. It's actually producing chemicals. It's producing hormones in the body. One of them is estrogen. So if you're overweight, you can end up very estrogen dominant, and estrogen is a promoter of cancer. Now, if you are overweight, have estrogen dominance, have impaired liver detoxification, and you're being exposed to EDCs, you can start to see that all of these things are on top of the body, and that can lead to the issue. So when you think about that, much of the prevention we even see with people is fear-based prevention, where they're being told, well, you have the breast cancer gene, which is not actually the gene for breast cancer or anything, so that's a misnomer. We might go into that more in depth on some of our other web classes and maybe the Healthy Wealthy Wise show, but because it's not a breast cancer gene, it's a tumor suppressor gene. Really, it's implicated in a lot more than just breast cancer and ovarian cancer, for example. And so I've seen many reports where women have gone and had double mastectomies and had their ovaries removed to prevent cancer. So that's not preventing cancer, it's removing one organ of the body, and then you express the cancer somewhere else. It's sort of like saying, well, if I amputated my foot, I'd no longer have itchy feet. It's just a little bit over the top, right? And so there's so much that you can do, and I think it's so much more important to keep keep your body parts as long as you can, unless there's a true medical reason for actually having that sort of surgery. So, holding excess weight can produce hormonal imbalance issues. So it's not a body image thing, it's actually a health thing. And so this is also linked to rampant inflammation in the body too. And obviously metabolic syndrome, weight issues, also linked to insulin resistance. And this is being also linked to many other issues in health and well-being. So you've got to get your insulin under control, which means you've got to get your diet under control. And so it leads us to this conversation here between carbs and fat. Many people have been led to believe over the last 50 years that carbs are healthy, fat's unhealthy. So if you're too low on fat, then your hormones are going to be out of whack. If you eat a diet that's high in sugar and processed carbs, your hormones are going to be out of whack. So what we've got to do is we've got to start to bring about more of a balance and eat more of a whole food diet, reduce the overt carbohydrates and sugars, and really start to focus on more of a nutrient dense whole food diet that then ends up being anti-inflammatory rather than inflammatory. So you know, and so improving your diet, you could focus on the Eat Savvy diet. So we have a free download that sort of helps you to find the healthier foods to eat, like the foods that are higher in nutrition and lower in toxicity, so that you're really doing all of this just through your diet. And certainly you want to look for more of a low carb, nutrient dense sort of diet. So that leads us to these tips down here, which we might go into more in depth in the upcoming Healthy, Wealthy, Wise show. Genetics often play a part, but the true genetics, like the true genetic mutations, for example, are very rare. So what we're actually dealing with is a genetic predisposition, and you can change that today by the way you think, by the way you eat, by the way you live. So all of these things that we've just gone through will change your genetic expression. So therefore, really, genetics aren't the answer. It's the way we're living each and every day. And certainly if we know something about our genetics, if we know that we carry the BRCA genes, the breast cancer genes, then it means that we will need to be more serious about some of these underlying things. It doesn't mean that we should mutilate our bodies, for example, in order to try to prevent something that it won't be able to do. We have to be serious. It's very helpful to know these underlying genetic indicators, because it can help you to optimize your life moving forward. Now, stress and sleep. So if you have high amounts of stress, then that is also going to mess with your adrenals, and then that's also going to mess with your whole hormonal imbalance. So that's certainly something. We won't go into that right now. Adrenal and thyroid imbalance. And again, stress linked to adrenals. The adrenals go out, that messes up the thyroid, and then there's a domino sort of effect decline. So all of these are implicated. But again, how do we help ourselves to sleep better and stress less? A lot of the times it's dealing with some of these. How do we help our adrenals and thyroid to be more in balance? Well, sometimes it's dealing with these. How do we make sure that we don't have the nutritional deficiencies that can lead to issues? Again, we have to address some of these. So we'll go into these in more depth in future sessions, but it gives you an overview of some of the things to do. Eliminate toxins, optimize your detox pathways, get your digestion and gut health in order, and get your weight and diet in order so that you reduce insulin resistance and blood sugar issues and all of it. You know, get your macronutrients and micronutrients right, and your hormones are going to start to be more in balance. You'll probably see less of all of the other signs of hormonal imbalance, and that will also lessen your risk of breast cancer. So that's a bit of a breast health awareness plan for you, but realize that across the board, we need to look to address the underlying issues, not treat the effect. We have to zoom out and look at some of the underlying issues and really get to prevention. So Corey Sievers here from the Savvy team, encouraging you to be savvy here in Breast Health Awareness Month. So again, if you've been struggling with putting all these sorts of ideas together, you've heard these sorts of things before, but you've not been able to take action, that's probably because sometimes it's hard if you don't have guidance and community and people around you to get it done. So we're here to help you get it done. So, reach out to us and we'll be glad to point you in the right direction. We also have our Hormonal Health Masterclass, which you might find really valuable. And at the moment I have I'm looking to put together, we have an audio where we interviewed author of Hormone Heresy, Dr. Cheryl Selman. And she actually delved into her story around some of these issues. And so if you're interested in listening to that audio, it was originally on a CD, but we do have that as an audio that we could send you. So just message us. If you're joining us live, then give us a wave and say, hey, send it over. If you're catching this as a replay on YouTube or Facebook or somewhere else, then just reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you out. So that's it from me. Look forward to catching up with you next time. And so until next time, it's Corey Sievers here encouraging you to be savvy.